welcome back to another video. For today's video, we are going to look at a PC that I bought a little while back. I did make a video about this PC. Basically, I bought a PC on the second-hand market and then split the PC and rebuilt two PCs out of one PC. So this is the PC that we're looking at. It came complete with a Ryzen 3 Pro 2200G, a MSI X470 gaming motherboard, one 16 gig 2660 megahertz RAM stick, a Corsair CX750M, an MSI, a GTX 1660 Super, 240 gig Sata SSD, and a 1 terabyte hard drive, and it was in a Aigo case. The seller was selling it on Facebook Marketplace for 6,900 Rand. After speaking to him, he was willing to go down to 6,600 Rand. So in total, 6,600 Rand got me this PC. Now, to anybody else, you wouldn't want to buy something like this because it looks a bit underwhelming. So, ended up picking this up, 6,600, and started changing out the parts. For the first build that I did, we upgraded the RAM, kept the motherboard, kept the 1660 Super. So 1660 Super, the power supply, and the motherboard. I replaced the case, put a new case onto it. The case came complete with fans. It's a Cooler Master case. I'll link it down in the description. Put in a 16 gig RGB RAM kit, and then upgraded the CPU. The CPU for this system was a Ryzen 5 4500. You can have a look at my playlist, you'll be able to find the full video there. So what I was left with after doing that upgrade was the CPU, the Ryzen 3 Pro 2200G. It's a 4-core, 4-thread CPU. Roughly, I was looking at prices for this build, and they go for about 800. 800 is a good price for the CPU. With that, came with a stock cooler. For the motherboard, managed to pick up a Asrock A320M VDH for 750 Rand, which is a pretty good deal. It's a very basic motherboard, but I mean, for a very budget system, that's pretty decent. 4 SATA ports for your hard drives. It's got 2 slots for your RAM. It's got a PCI Express for graphics card if you require graphics card. M.2 slots. On the back I/O, you've got USB 2. You've got HDMI. You've got VGA and DVI, and then you've got the USB 3 ports as well. Standard audio. A very basic board. I did buy it second hand. 750 is really not a bad price for, I mean, any motherboard. For a power supply, I managed to pick up this 450 watt Trend Tech power supply. It's not the greatest power supply in the world, but I mean, you're building it into a really budget system, so it'll work, and that's all you needed to do. Managed to pick up this for 200 Rand. Very basic, and this power supply itself is not actually able to run a graphics card. I mean, in order to run a graphics card, you'd have to have the adapters in order to change Molex plugs to a 6-pin or that type of thing, but not entirely recommended. But for a PC without a graphics card, I mean, what more could you ask for? And to keep the cost down. For 200 Rand, I mean, how many power supplies can you find for 200 Rand? And it was new. It was, a guy was selling it, it was practically new. And not that it means anything, because budget power supplies can be a problem. For the RAM, the original system that I bought came with a single stick of 266 megahertz RAM. It was 8 gig. Well, it actually came with a 16 gig stick of RAM. So what I did was I sold that 16 gig stick of RAM, and then I bought two 8 gig sticks. Obviously when it comes to Ryzen, having two sticks rather than one helps with the performance. I mean, not that this thing's gonna like outperform some of the higher end PCs. For the RAM stick, I actually had one already on hand, so all I had to do was add in another 500 Rand to buy another one. I managed to find one for 500 Rand in order to make it two sticks of RAM. So for the end total, for the total specs after building this thing, it basically, these were components that were lying around, so it was fairly easy enough for me to throw it together. There were one or two things that I needed to buy, but you've got a case, you've got a power supply, so it's as easy as that. So the total specs after completing this, the case itself was in pretty good condition. So from the front it looked pretty good. Obviously there's a hole in the side of the case, no idea why, but in total the case looked pretty good. So and it was a free case, so it came with a PC, it was technically free. For the PC specs after the build, Ryzen 3 Pro 2200G, the Asrock motherboard A320, and the RAM 2x8 gig, 266 megahertz, at least it's 16 gigs. Power supply, Trendtech 450 watt. The SSD, just a 240 gigabyte SSD, just for the speed for the operating system. For the hard drive, I added in a 500 gig hard drive that I had lying around, basically for a little bit of game storage. And then obviously the case was an Aigo case. And then the price, total price, the CPU 800, the motherboard 700, the RAM, the extra RAM stick was 500, the power supply 200, and the SSD 300. Case was free. The hard drive I had lying around, so I wasn't going to throw that in. I didn't pay for it. Usually they come with systems that I tend to buy. Total cost of build 2,650 Rand. Now I ended up selling it for about 3,500. Yeah, I mean, that's as budget as you get it. So the next question was, can it run Cyberpunk? So I jumped into a game of Cyberpunk, and it wasn't really the game, I just ran the benchmark. So all the benchmarks, everything's set to low. What I did was, the fidelity FX has come a long way, so we put it on to ultra. They've got a setting for ultra performance, and yeah, we ran the benchmark in ultra performance, and apart from reducing the resolution, it ran pretty well. I mean, it was running over 30 FPS just for the game, which is pretty shocking. It is 1080p, so it is at 1080p resolution, with all settings on low. So presumably if you had to run it at like 720p, fairly blurry, but the fact that it actually runs is pretty surprising. So yeah, this is another look into a cheap budget option. I mean, it's a basis to work from. Add a graphics card, you get a little bit more performance. Upgrade a CPU, you get a little bit more performance. Upgrade a case, but for the price, for like basically a 3,000 Rand gaming PC, yeah, you can't do much worse than this. And it actually works. Probably wouldn't run every game that you can think of, but I mean, overall, you could probably up the settings a little bit, cap it at 30 FPS and run it like that. But I mean, this is 1080p, so yeah. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and we will catch you in the next video.